Let's go ahead and jump into the slideshow here. So a few things here. This is our basic outline. We're going to introduce the Sheet Set Manager for Web, what all that means, and of course some various workflows and options that we have with using the tool. And get rolling here. I am in Civil 3D 2023. Do I have to be in 2023 to use the Sheet Set Manager for Web? It is in the current release of 23, as you can see on my screen, and as well as, I believe, 22. I haven't checked 21, so I'm not sure which version everyone is on. So I'm going to be on the latest release of 23, and that's because there's an update that I want to take advantage of. Some of you may have been in the Synergis University session we did on the same topic back in November. So what was that? 3 months ago-ish. And from that discussion, some things have changed even in those 3 months. So that's why I'm showing this particular version of Civil 3D. Now, it's not specifically the latest and greatest about Civil 3D, right? Civil 3D is made up of all sorts of different applications, AutoCAD, Map, and AutoCAD architecture, right? So there's updates in all of those. And the update we're really taking advantage of is the .1 release in AutoCAD. So first, what is the sheet set for web? I've got a drawing. You know, we go to the sheet set manager. Actually, I've already got it open over here on the side. And this is the web version. So I'm going to close this, and we will bring the traditional sheet set manager up, right? Everybody's familiar with this guy. So the question is, how these sheet set files, the DST files that we often use. So if I open one, and let's go to one that I have locally. So I'll just grab this local file. Technically, it's in a cloud, but as far as Autodesk and AutoCAD is concerned in this situation, OneDrive is just a local file, right? It's just looking at the cache. So what looks like normal, right? We've got different sheets, we've got some subsets going on, and all of this is on the sheet list tab. We've got our various, output settings that we can do, right? If you're here for Sheet Set Manager for the web, you're probably somewhat familiar with this already. There are 3 tabs here. You can do model views and sheet views to help build details and sections and profiles of content. But we're going to focus on the sheet list today. Now, what can the sheet list do for us? Of course, if I right-click on the sheet set name, I can create a new sheet or a new subset, right? You guys can read. I can even create additional properties. So what does that mean? Things that might go in our title block. So in this particular set, I've got some sheet set custom properties, but I could also have custom sheet properties, things that are specific to individual sheets. So like the sheet name, right? Whatever's happening on that particular sheet, like grading or utility, whatever the case may be. And we would use this Edit Custom Properties button to build those additional properties. Pretty standard. You click Add, give it a name, a value, and what type is it for the set or for an individual sheet. So I'm not going to do that in this case, just kind of leaving this alone, right? So that's our starting point. We also have templates, right, for our sheet creation when we do a new sheet. What does that look for? This could be a common file that you have, or it could be in your project. Many people do that in different forms and fashion. Again, depending on your clientele, you may have specific standards for a given project. So you would put templates and so forth inside the project itself to keep it self-contained. Or it could be just a network drive where all your templates are, right, across all projects. Wherever it is, right, simple browse to it, you pick it, and off you go. Pretty standard things there for a sheet set. What else do we do with the sheet set manager? Well, of course, we can publish, right? We can go publish everything to a PDF, send it right to the plotter identified that you identify, or you can just use the publish dialog box and pick and choose which things you want. Maybe everything goes to a PDF, or to the plotter name, then page setup, even do a page setup override. Lots of things that we can do, even publish in the background, right? Again, these are all local to your desktop machine activities. So that's sort of the high level of the sheet set manager. Now this is the presentation of the sheet set manager of a local DST file. What does it look like when we do that from a cloud location? Well, let me bring up. So I've got a project here in Autodesk Docs, and I got some of these same files, right? Just so we can kind of compare and contrast the different processes. In addition to my DST file, right? So I want to open that file in that transportation folder. So pretty easy. I'm going to close this sheet set for a moment. Not that it matters, but I'm going to click open. And I will go browse to that sample location under transportation. There's my DST file. So it's going to open that file. And notice that it switched from the desktop version. Oops, let's bring that out. And we'll keep it open. To the sheet set manager for web version. What's different? Maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't. Let's kind of shrink this down a little bit. It's a little big. The icon is the sheet set manager icon, but there's a little puffy cloud on top of the standard icon, right? Indicating there's some difference here. But you can see there's my individual sheets. You can see the subsets that I had in place. Everything is very similar from that regard. And here, let me just kind of stretch this out, right? Just so you can read things. So if I pick on a particular file, there's all of its properties. All that's the same. So very, very similar. Although I find it a little easier to use the sheet set manager for web when I'm trying to change things, where I might have gone into the different ways to change the sheet number. I can simply pick on a sheet and change the title or the number, or any custom property for that matter. If I wanted to do sheet or any of those same things that we would have done in the standard desktop version, similar process, right click on the sheet set name, and there's our different options where I can bring in sheets, I can create new sheets or subsets, even e-transmit, right? We didn't really get into that just yet. But generally speaking, the workflow is going to look and feel the same from just a click here, click there kind of thing. Obviously, the interface itself is a little different. All right, I've done these initial two examples from existing DST files, right? Something that's already been created, and we simply just moved it up to the cloud. So first, how did I do that? Was that hard? Was that easy? Relatively easy, actually. There are two methods to do that nowadays. So if you are moving from one platform to another, so maybe from a network drive to a cloud drive, you can see I have two folders. On the left is my network drive. I simply dragged and dropped into my project folder inside of Autodesk Docs. That's all I did. No special anything. But I guess there is a special tool down here that I've kind of overlooked at the moment, which is the desktop connector. I'm on the current build, version 16. There are some benefits and efficiencies with version 16 that's come out also at the same time last November. Might have been like right after Thanksgiving, like maybe December 1st or something like that. But there's some benefits to that too, which we'll go over towards the end, just to kind of highlight the version 1 AutoCAD updates as well as the desktop connector updates. But just know that I'm using the latest and greatest of that as well. All right, so getting a project from a server to the cloud, pretty easy, straightforward. Now, in doing that, it's simply doing a copy. It's not doing reference checking. If you're using Civil 3D, it's not validating your data shortcuts, right? It's simply copying and pasting in situ, if you will. Regarding plant projects, that's a little bit more tricky. There's a button that says collaborate in the cloud, and it essentially does this publish for you because it's more than just a bunch of drawing files in a plant project, right? There's a bunch of databases and XML files and a bunch of other things that they just need to understand where they are in the background. So inside of plant, now I don't have plant open, but if you open Plant 3D and go to the ribbon, there's a collaborate similar tab here. And it's simply, instead of, in this case, publish services, it would say publish project or share project or something to that effect to get it up into an Autodesk Docs project. Now, what about creating the sheet set from scratch? Here I am in a brand new project. In fact, I'm going to save this file. We're going to put it right in. We'll use that same project. And I'll go into the civil folder. All right, so there's my file. It's up in the cloud. How do I know that? Our prospector here in Civil 3D tells us that we are indeed in a cloud drawing. It's locked by me. What does that mean? Jump back into the web browser for a moment. Go to the folder where I saved it. There's my file. Version 1, right, just saved it up there. It's got a lock on it. And you can see the time and date and person who has the file open, right, when they opened it and by whom. This little circle, blue circle, what's happening there? The file's already saved to the cloud. It's creating a visualization file. So for folks that don't have AutoCAD, even Civil 3D or Plant 3D or whatever version of software, you can click on the file and they can see the file in the browser. Well, I would have to turn on my my object enabler, right, for Civil 3D objects. But here's a sample file that's just line work. You can see I can be in the browser and look at things. All right. I guess real quick, now that I have this file, I want to create a sheet and a sheet set for that file, maybe create a layout in that drawing. So maybe I'll go to one of my existing layouts here. Let me just get set up briefly to make sure we're the right page size. We're not, so we'll just modify it. We'll send it to Adobe and we'll go architectural E1, that's fine. Perfect. Let's hit OK. There we go. We'll get rid of that guy. I'm missing a title block, of course. We'll get one of those in, but let me just bring in a view. Let's say of my profiles. And let's say that's 50 scale. Oop, that's not going to fit on the page. But one profile for the moment. So there's my profile on the page. And I bet let's go to a normal scale. There we go. That's going to take up my whole sheet. Perfect. Awesome. I might have a title block I want to bring in, but let's just do the very basic thing, right? I just want to add this layout to my sheet set. So let's rename it. Just not say layout to. We'll say side road profile. And what you might normally do is import that layout as a sheet. It's grayed out. Why is it grayed out? We don't have a sheet set open. Okay, so let's create a sheet set. So I'll go back to my sheet set manager. We'll do a new sheet set. New option here right out of the gate. An example sheet set, existing drawings, those two options are there always. These will create a local DST file, right? A cloud example sheet set knows that it's going to go to the cloud. So while we could do this local version and then move it, this other option goes directly to the cloud. So we'll just hit next. So then I get this different wizard to get us through that process. So I'll give it a name. We'll say roundabout design. Description, right, whatever it is. What's my template? Again, this pulls from your sheet DST file options path, right, locally. So I'm just going to use the Imperial list there. And then where does this go? What project does this go into? So it knows where I am there. We'll stick it in my, let's go back to the civil folder, right? That's where I am. And then hit select. So that's now going to give that path. I click next. That sheet set template, if you will, is what's generating all of those subsets already. Additionally, there's a label block for callouts, page setup overrides, all those standard things that you would normally have are there for your use, including our sheet creation template, right? So I'm going to hit create, let it go and do its thing. So it created that sheet set file, right? Where is it? Again, oops, if we take a look at our browser, there it is. There's a DST file. And once it's saved and synced the file, it switched from the desktop manager to the web manager. All right, so now that I've got my sheet set, and maybe there's some setup I might want to do, maybe some properties. We've got a few in there based on our sheet set template. But let's go ahead and add this layout to the sheet set. All right. So normally, again, we would go to our layout and say import layout as sheet as an option. Still grayed out. Okay. How do I use this thing then? Well, as with anything in modern UI, there's either an icon like we have here, but this is to create a sheet set, or we simply right click. So in this case, I can import my sheet. Now this is let's just call this as a profile sheet, right? So I'll stick it there and we'll say import sheet. Okay, there we go. So there's my side road profile. I click import, and now I've got a sheet in my list. There we go. If I pick on that sheet, I can see various properties. I can see the file, right, that it's looking for, and all the custom properties assigned to that file. Pretty straightforward there. So you can obviously rinse and repeat that for your entire project. And of course, I would need an attributed block for your fields. Again, I'm not going to go through the standard sheet set configuration. All of that stuff would still be the same. What's different? Well, what happens when you're in the throes of getting a project out and there's like, I don't know, a team of people adding notes and details and, title block changes, at the nth hour. Obviously, being in different files, that's a pretty simple, straightforward thing. So once all those files are saved and everybody did their thing, you could publish. What happens when I've got to change page numbers or revision dates, all that sort of thing? Multiple people probably would be in this sheet set file, right, doing those edits. It's multi-edit right out of the gate. It's not, you don't have to tell it that you want to modify things. So multiple people can get in here and be on their sheets and change the sheet number, and it's not a big deal. The only problem is I'm the only person working in the project, so you can't really see that. I apologize. I suppose I could fake it. Let's see if I can do this in real time. So I'm going to log out and sign in as one of my personas. And let's see. So now in my browser, I am logged in as my persona. And there's my project that persona is part of. And we'll go. So I only set him up for the architect folder. Oh, goodness gracious. So let me sign out again. We'll add him to my project, or at least I'll find out who is in that civil project. We'll do it that way. So I am the project admin, which makes some of this a little easier to accomplish in a demonstration. So if I go to my civil folder and permissions, I can see I'm the only person, so I'm going to go ahead and add him as a person, and I'll give him full permissions here. Okay, fair enough. So let's sign out, go back to that profile. We'll sign in, and now we should get to that folder. There we go. So they can see those same things, right? Okay, how is this person going to edit this from the web? So if I click on the file, what do I want to do? Well, I can look at it. That's not very helpful. Download source file, share, print. Okay, that's not helpful either. Open an auto. Ooh, look at that. Open an AutoCAD web app. What is that? Let's go there. Something about browser pop-ups. That's fine. So AutoCAD has a web version. So this is a full version of AutoCAD, not Civil 3D, but of AutoCAD. It's web.autocad.com. And of course, here's my file. Where's my sheet set manager, right? There's no button. How in the world do I get there? And currently I'm in view only. Why? Because back on my desktop, I had the same file open, right? So really don't want to open that file. Let's go back to the browser. So let me close the file here. We'll back up a step. And we'll go into that same folder. We'll go into my sheet set, civil here, and let's make a new file, right? So how do I do that? So we'll do new drawing based off of some template. I don't even care what the template is at the moment. So here's my file. It's already saved, but I guess I could do save as, and we'll call it something normal here. We'll call this details. So that's saving. We'll just give it a second. Again, I'm doing all of this in the browser, right? This is all up in the cloud at the moment. And I don't know, just give it a rectangle just to have something on the sheet or in model space. We'll save that. Okay. And now let's go back to our home. So now I've got a second file. And what do I want to do? I don't want to modify the, oops, I picked on the wrong project again. I don't want to modify the roundabout file. I don't want to modify that detail file, but I do want to jump into the sheet set file. So let me just open that instead. So I can see that Kevin Spear is still logged in. That is sometimes the problem with doing these things. And so to make sure I'm in that alternate persona, right? And I want to add docs to this guy, and we'll do our sheet set example. Now, this is probably a good segue, something that is newer as a part of that docs transition from version 15 to version 16. Instead of trying to sync every project that you're a part of, we now pick and choose. So this person's only a part of a handful of projects, so it's not a bigger deal. As someone who's in every project all day, right, you could have hundreds of projects. So you can pick and choose what actually shows up in that list. All right, so now let me open the DST file, add as Coach Beard, as it were. And you can see, this is what I was trying to get to, we're immediately both in that edit mode. So that person can now add a layout, right? So let's do that. So let's import a sheet as Coach Beard. I'll pick the detail file. I don't even care that the layout's not set up, but the process is the same, right? We'll pick the layout, hit import, boom, done. So we're both editing the DST at the same time. Very, very powerful tool. It's a very simple thing. Now we don't have to hit edit. We just do the things we would normally do as if it were local. All right. So I showed you how to take an existing project, throw it up into Autodesk Docs, and then use the same DST file. But of course, when you open it from the cloud, it's in this new sheet set manager for web palette. Notice that in AutoCAD for web, this sheet set manager looks the same as it does in the desktop version. So that's on purpose, right? It's the same tool. Secondly, we showed you how to create a sheet set from scratch, specifically for the web. So before I get into some of the other additional functionality, do we have any questions on this initial construction of the sheet set manager for web? Does standard AutoCAD support sheet set manager? The answer to that is yes. So this applies to every flavor of AutoCAD. So AutoCAD, AutoCAD Civil 3D, Map 3D, Plan 3D, etc. The only one I'm not sure about is AutoCAD LT. So that's a great question. I'll have to check on LT. I don't think it does, but I'm not 100% sure on that. You know what? I don't have an LT installed, so I was going to fire it up and we would see. But I will have to get back to everyone on that. I do not have an answer. So in general, yes, every version of AutoCAD will support this new manager. Got another one. We use Project Navigator currently. Is using Sheet Set Manager better? Ooh, good question, James. So Project Navigator and Sheet Set Manager are actually very similar in nature. For those that don't know, Project Navigator is part of AutoCAD architecture, which I don't have installed. It automates some of the elevation and section callouts and references in AutoCAD architecture. Is it better? Is Sheet Set Manager better than Navigator? They are similar, but they are not the same. So many of those tools that you're used to in Navigator aren't here in, shall we say, the vanilla version of the Sheet Set Manager. I guess if we're choosing a cloud paradigm, right, for AutoCAD architecture, can I use Autodesk Docs as a way to use a Sheet Set Manager for your project? You could certainly do that. As far as I know, the Project Navigator would simply look at the project file that just happens to be in the project. What am I saying? So let's go back to here and we'll bring back up the project. When you're doing your AutoCAD architecture project, we did an electrical example here somewhere. Where the heck did I do it? I'm still signed in as coach. So AutoCAD electrical is similar, has a similar type of functionality in that regard. They don't have Project Navigator, but they have local files to the project that help connect literally the dots on the, in that case, the wiring. So what we found in that example is that, yes, you can still use those native tools. You just have to do them one at a time because they're not built for the cloud. So, for instance, AutoCAD Electrical uses all of these different file extensions for the project. And as things happen in the drawings, those individual project files get updated. So the normal editing can happen. The issue that we had for one at a time was whenever we created a new drawing. It seemed to not be happy when we would both try to create a new drawing and then add it to the project. And that was a pretty rare occurrence, right, where you're both doing it at exactly the same time. It doesn't always happen. Again, there's just no handshake yet for that. The presumption is we could apply that same mentality to Project Navigator. How many times are we actually modifying that file at the same time that the Project Navigator is using, to populate the project information? So I'm extrapolating a little bit because I haven't tested AutoCAD architecture specifically inside of Autodesk docs. So yes, I would say in that case, you're going to be better off with the familiar tools that you're already using in AutoCAD architecture. Conversely, I'm not sure if you're necessarily looking at it, but of course, Revit is the other tool that architects use that is working, supported. That's the word I'm looking for. In the Construction Cloud Autodesk Docs platform, where, of course, all of the project tools there are built for that scenario. So kind of six, one half the other, depending on if you're working by yourself or in a team, I guess. So I guess to answer the basic question there, Roy, I would say Project Navigator is better at doing the tasks that tool is meant for than Sheet Set Manager. But if you're just doing sheets, you're not using some of those automation tools, then maybe Sheet Set Manager would be fine. So great questions, everyone. I do want to respect everybody's time. It is noon. Thanks, everyone.